Hey everyone, glad you're with us on the show today. This week we're at Lake Okmulgee, about 45 minutes south of Tulsa, Oklahoma, here in central Oklahoma. The spawn is right around the corner. This week we're going to be fishing for fish that possibly could be on beds or moving to the beds with a swim jig and flipping transition banks with a biffle bug. You don't want to miss this week's episode. Fox Sports Outdoors is on the air right now.
You're watching the only program with weekly fishing reports and real-time outdoor news from the Southwest region. This is Fox Sports Outdoors.
Hey guys, welcome to Fox Sports Outdoors. I'm your guest host, Andrew Upshaw. I'm filling in for Barry this week. A little bit about me, I fished the FLW Tour for about 6 years now. I'm an avid fisherman from Texas. Today though, we're in central Oklahoma at Lake Okmulgee. Lake Okmulgee is about 10 minutes west of Okmulgee and about an hour south of Tulsa, Oklahoma. The lake is small in size, but it's surrounded by a lot of vegetation like reeds and eelgrass. From what I've heard, this lake has a lot of really big fish in it. I've never been to this body of water, so today you're going to get to see me break down a body of water that I've never been to before. Also, we'll have fishing reports from our inside reporters from your local region. But for now, let me get my rods out of the rod locker, get this boat off the bank, get to fishing. I'm going to toss it back to FSN Studios for your weekend planner.
A check of the Salooner tables reveals Sunday as the best time to be on the water for fishing over the weekend. Conditions are listed as excellent, with peak times forecast to begin at noon. Expect the sun to rise at 6:30 and set at 8:17. And evenings will feature a moon that is only 10% visible. We'll be right back to check all of the current fishing reports from throughout the area. And I'll return with Bassmaster Elite Angler Greg Hackney on this week's Ask the Pro feature. Back in a bit.
We got the rods out. Gotta have a little game plan in mind. Looked around the lake, noticed that there's a lot of reeds and looks like eelgrass, you know, that you would find in Florida. It's kind of chilly this morning. Yesterday was fairly warm, but extremely windy today. Started out the morning about 38 degrees, and but I think we're gonna warm up pretty good about the mid-60s. It's a nice spring day, not a whole lot of wind, but just a little bit of breeze. And that's perfect for fishing in the spring. You don't always want just a tremendous amount of wind, but you want those warming days, and that's what we're kind of on a warming spell right now, finally. And today I think we're going to be able to catch them on swim jigs, chatterbaits, moving baits primarily. And so I'm really looking forward to that, especially around that grass. So you should have some really good action today. But for now, let's toss it to a commercial break.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Tracker Boats. It's more than a boat, it's a tracker. Mercury Outboards, go boldly. Lowrance and the new Hook 2, the world's easiest fish finder. And Louisiana Travel. Plan your fishing trip at louisianatravel.com.
Oh, there we go. Dang, I just flipped up there on that little reed set. He ain't even very good, but he's pulling hard. There we go. Well, not a very big one. Just, what we're doing is taking this, oh yeah, I had him hooked good. Look at that. I'm taking a 3/8 ounce nickel swim jig with a hammer crawl, pearl pepper hammer crawl. And what we're doing is we're popping it. So we're just pop, 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 and keeping it right under the surface with 50-pound braid. You know, this isn't a very big fish. You know, it's a decent one, but you know, it's a male. You know, we're fishing really close to spawn right now, and these males have a tendency to feed up this time of year. But one of the things that I like to do, especially when you get around vegetation like this, is I take a 7.3 Custom Pro, Lew's Custom Pro. It has a pretty good tip to it, like so you can see the tip is pretty good. So when you're popping that swim jig across the surface, every time you see it pop, you'll actually see the fish either tail the swim jig or you'll see a bull and your line will swim off. And by using that popping action, it gives it motion the entire time. So it's almost creating a reaction strike the entire time that you're fishing. So it's, to put it in perspective, you know, whenever you're out there and you're throwing a spinnerbait by a log or a lay down, and you know your spinnerbait hits it and the fish just rolls out there and eats it real fast, well, you're doing the exact same thing with that swim jig with that hammer crawl on it, but you're almost creating that reaction strike without any cover being around at all. But this swim jig will swim through this cover, like around these reeds and this submerged grass, and those fish really react to it. But a really important aspect of this technique is using a 7-to-1 gear ratio reel. Right here I'm using the new custom inshore from Lou's. Honestly, the reason I like the custom inshore is it's extremely lightweight. It has a really small profile, but it has blue knobs on it. So pretty much all my braid reels, I use a custom inshore because it's a white reel with blue knobs, blue wind dry tack knobs, and I know which reel has braid on it from just looking in my box. So if you're looking to catch fish on a swim jig like I'm throwing today, this Nichols, a 3/8 ounce sledgehammer swim jig with a Jinglaroo hammer crawl, you want to make sure you have the right setup. Your braid is extremely important. Your 7-to-1 gear ratio reel is really important, and your 7.3 medium heavy rod that gives you that snapping action when you're swimming it through the water. If you do that, you'll catch more fish on a swim jig.
Hey friends, Captain Kevin Broussard here with your Fox Sports Louisiana Outdoor Report. Coming to you from Cajun Paradise Lodge and Charter here on beautiful Okmulgee Lake. Terry, we're going to talk saltwater fishing right now along the Louisiana coast. Lots of redfish, speckled trout getting caught at Houma. Bill Lake's doing very well over there, south of there. Soft plastics, live shrimp, and live mullets seem to be working best. Right here on Lake Calcasieu, starting to get into that early summertime action. Live shrimp under a popping cork, speckled trout drifting over your oyster reefs in West Cove, the south end of the lake. The Gulf Jetty's got some big redfish showing up. Live finger mullet, live shrimp, working best right there. I tell you what, right offshore at the close rigs, got some trout, got a few triple tails starting to show up. I tell you what, biggest thing right now, getting in a summertime pattern, fishing is taking off. If you want to make a trip, give us a call. We'll be more than happy to put you on them. For old Cajun Phil, it's Captain Kevin Broussard saying happy fishing. May God bless, and we'll see you next week.
Oh, there we go. Dang, I just flipped up there on that little reed set. He ain't even very good, but he's pulling hard. Oh man, so we made a little change. Caught that one on a biffle bug, just flipping on a little bit of isolated cover. I bet it wasn't 3 minutes ago I lost one about 3 times bigger than this. It was about a 6-pounder. We've been just swimming jigs this whole time, fishing a 3/8 ounce swim jig, just reeling it around cover. But the water temps are getting up there. So one thing about that is when water temps start getting higher, the fish tend to stop eating those moving baits as well. So today I really slowed down, picked up that biffle bug, picked up that loose flipping stick, and started picking apart cover. And we've had 2 bites now, so you never know what might happen now. But I'm gonna get back to flipping. You stay tuned. Let's see if we can catch some more. Now that is a beautiful fish right there. Man, oh man. Ooh, big one. Oh, that's a big one, dude. Whoo! Now that is a beautiful fish right there. Man, oh man. I flipped up next to that rock and this big son of a gun just choked on it. Choked on that biffle bug. Oh, now check that out. So I think we finally figured out how to catch them on Okmulgee. So we've been throwing moving baits this whole morning, and all we've been catching is males, little 2-pound males. And so I decided to pick up a flipping bait. You know, this time of year when the water starts warming up, they like to get up super dirt shallow. The water's dirty, so that's going to push them even shallower. But you know, it's paying attention to little clues. So I'm gonna go ahead and unhook this fish. I have him hooked good. Show you one more time what he looks like. Beautiful fish. 5-pounder, maybe 5.5. But one of the things that we're looking for here is little transition banks. So if you look right here, look here beside us, and you're gonna see a bunch of rock right here, okay? Well, up next to this rock, it starts flattening back out. Now this whole lake is surrounded by grass, but every time that we've come to a transition bank where it went from rock to a flat bank, we've gotten bites flipping. When you start getting bites like that, it can really change your day and turn it around really fast and make you like the lake a whole lot more. So I'm gonna get back to flipping because I'm starting to really have a good time. So let's see if that biffle bug can put some more fish in the boat.
Well, we finally got our crappie to the banks here in Oklahoma, and you can catch them shallow at most places across the state at this time. I expect that to continue to last for a while, probably at least up and through this next full moon. Now, a lot of anglers are going to the very backs of the creeks like you see these gentlemen doing, and they're putting that crappie jig in and around every piece of visible structure they can find, catching some nice male and female crappie doing that. Now, if the water is muddy, which we still have some runoff in a lot of places, you're gonna have muddy water, but those fish are there, you can still catch them. Go with your black chartreuse or your black hot pink colors. The Bobby Garland Lights Out is a great muddy water color. If the water is clear, go with your monkey milk or a more natural shad looking color like threadfin shad. That is the great combination for right now. Eli Smith, thank you for this video. It looks like you, Leon Mears, and Red Miller had a great outing. I appreciate that. Now also, crappie are still being caught on the docks too, 5 to 8 feet deep, over 15 to 20 foot of water. So those waves of fish continue to move in and out, and that's why I say I think the fishing is going to still be good in Oklahoma for the next few weeks for crappie. White bass, still catch them where you've got some current. Crappie, white bass, you can catch them, but you can't catch them if you don't go.
Oh, there we go. It's not a big one, but hey, we figured out a little pattern on this flipping deal. Caught another one on biffle bug. What we're doing is we figured out, like I said, not a very big one. What we figured out is running some of these steeper banks. So as you can see right here, it flattens out and it runs back to a steeper rock bluff type bank. A lot of times these fish may not be spawning, but I feel like there's a really good chance that they are. But a lot of times this time of year, those fish like to use these as highways. So when they pull into these little pockets right off the main creek, they want to find a place that they can transition into these spawning areas. Now granted, they could be, I've seen it a bunch of times in Oklahoma where they spawn on these steeper banks. But whenever the water's just about warm enough for them to start spawning, we have a moon coming up, they like using these steeper banks to pull into these little pockets. We're right off the main creek here, in the very back of a creek, and I'd be willing to bet we get a couple more bites down through here. So I'm gonna get back to fishing, and we'll catch up with you here in just a minute.
Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Lou's. Feel the difference. Gene LaRue and Bobby Garland. We know bass and crappie from heads to tails. Glacier Glove. Stay outdoors longer with our gloves, hats, and shades. And tough as hell voodoo lures. Do you voodoo?
Literally made the very next flip. Flipped up underneath that lay down. Caught that fish right there. Oh, there's a good one there. The flipping deal is still the deal, for sure. Flipped up underneath that lay down, caught that fish right there. I was just telling my cameraman that you gotta really pay attention to your line this time of year. Hooked this fish good, flipped up there, and I saw my line swimming off. A lot of times you're not gonna feel the bites from these fish that are sitting up, staging up to spawn or are on the beds. when you're flipping in 1 to 2 foot of water like we are doing today on Lake Okmulgee, you're going to run into situations where you're not going to feel those bites. If you've ever bed fished for these fish, when you sit there and watch them get on the beds, one of the main things that they do, they'll eat your bait when you flip it up in there, and you won't ever feel them. They'll just be swimming off with it. You got to take the same exact mindset when you're flipping this really shallow cover, because a lot of these bass you're never going to feel, but you're going to catch. So you got to always be a line watcher. That's one of the most important things to do when you're flipping. But another really important aspect of flipping is to really gauge your weight size. So today we're using a 3/8 ounce tungsten weight. So a lot of times you see guys that like to use anywhere between a 1/2 and 3/4 when they're flipping. When you're flipping in 1 to 2 foot of water, you've got to downsize that weight size. Obviously, we're flipping a straight metal weight today. You know, a lot of guys say it makes a difference on, you know, whether you're flipping a black weight, silver weight. When these fish are up on beds, actually, I think a silver weight gets you more bites because it gives a little bit of flash in the water. It catches the bass's attention. So try that out the next time you're out flipping. Just flip a standard old silver weight and you're going to put more fish in the boat. But when you do flip out there, always watch your line. That's a huge, important key to catching more bass. I'm gonna get this one back, and we're gonna get back to fishing. There you go, baby.
Hi folks, and welcome to another Lone Star Lakes, brought to you again by Fiberworks Marine Collision. No matter what your damage, Fiberworks will work with you, and they'll work with your insurance company to get the damage fixed right, good as new, as fast as possible, and get you back out on the water. Now this week we're inviting all the bass fishermen to come on out to Lake Bridgeport, where the bass bite is fantastic right now. We started our morning with topwaters, buzzbaits, and whopper ploppers around the main lake points and the island. As soon as that played out, we went with a chartreuse white spinnerbait up in and around the rocks, 3 to 6 feet deep, and a creature bait rigged on a jig head with light spinning tackle to also catch those shallow bass. Finally, a robo worm in morning dawn or a finesse worm in a red chartreuse type color fished on those main lake points out deeper 10 to 15 feet. And for you crappie fishermen, the crappie are moving out of the creeks up on Ray Roberts. They're starting to show up back on the brush piles. You'll look for them around 10 to 14 feet deep. Use your jigs, use your minnows. That'll catch you some crappie. That's this week's Lone Star Lakes, brought to you by Fiberworks Marine Collision. Remember to check us out at Lone Star Lakes on Facebook to see what we're doing when we're not out here on the water.
Hi, I'm Joey Ferry with your South Texas Regional Fishing Report. The clash between spring and summer fishing right now is amazing. Our inner bays and estuaries are so full of game fishing bait, it's electric. In Port Aransas, the big news is the North and South Jetty. These jetty rocks are easily accessible by car or jetty boat, and we're drifting a DOA 1/2-inch red shrimp and this clear bait buster. Both hooks are on the top, which keeps you from getting hung in those rocks. The incoming tide's best for those tide runners trout and maybe a Texas snook. Down in the Laguna Madre, we're sticking along the sides of the intercoastal waterway and fishing those shallow spoil islands that line the intercoastal. This is a travel way for both game fish and that shrimp and finger mullet migration those fish have been following. And in Baffin, it is the start of our summer live bait season. We are bringing to hand the largest speckled trout of the season. Right now, we're using the live croakers, which are an enemy to the speckled trout. They eat the trout eggs, so they attack them with aggression. It's a little tricky on how we fish them, our techniques, and how we hook them with our setup. So you can follow all of our hookups and some good tips on how to fish those summertime baits on my Facebook page at Joey Ferris Backwater Fishing.
You can always watch our latest episode on the front page of our website at foxsportsoutdoors.com. Catch up on past episodes by clicking the archive button and learn about fishing techniques and new gear at our how-to page. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter for new fishing videos every day. Simply search for Fox Sports Outdoors and click the like button on Facebook and follow button on Twitter. And watch a new episode every week on any device by downloading the free Waypoint TV app on your phone, tablet, computer, or smart TV. Fox Sports Outdoors is brought to you by Motor Guide's new wireless and easy-to-use XI3. Exide batteries, powering the world forward. Waypoint Marine, the Gulf Coast's leading saltwater boating specialist. And Strike King, designed by the pros, fished by you.
Welcome back, everyone. It's time for the Ask the Pro question. This week, Gary asks, what's the advantage of using a tandem axle trailer versus a single axle trailer when towing a boat? For the answer, we asked Bassmaster Elite Angler Greg Hackney.
You know, probably the biggest advantage to using a tandem axle trailer over a single axle is less flats. It's easier on the trailer. It distributes the load better. It's really easier on your tow vehicle. The boat rides a lot better. It's not near as much bouncing by spreading that weight out. I would recommend, honestly, anybody out there to have a tandem axle trailer. The only disadvantage to having a tandem axle trailer is that rolling it around without a vehicle hooked to it of some kind. A single axle, is easier to, one person can push it around and push it back into place. That would be the only disadvantage to having a dual axle trailer, but the advantages by far outweigh the disadvantages.
Thanks, Greg. If you have a question for one of the anglers, visit our website, follow the Ask the Pro link, and send it in. Now let's see who wins the big catch of the week.
This week's winner in the Big Catch of the Week contest is Chris Hancock of Skytook, Oklahoma, caught a 9-pound largemouth bass out of Okmulgee Creek Lake in Oklahoma. To enter the contest, go to foxsportsoutdoors.com, click the Big Catch of the Week box on the right side of the home page, and follow the instructions to send in your big fish photo. This week on Lake Okmulgee, we used a two-prong approach to catch our bass. In the morning through the middle of the day, we used a Nichols Sledgehammer swim jig and 3/8 ounce white and silver flake skirt with a pearl pepper Jean LaRue hammer crawl. The Jean LaRue hammer crawl was very, very important because it was a little bit more transparent and that upper water column was a little bit clear and kind of underneath was a little dirtier. So it seemed like when you reel and pop that swim jig up in that upper water column, those fish needed a little bit more transparent look to get them to bite. I paired that on a custom inshore speed spool. This reel is beefed up, can handle big line, big braid, and it's great for bass fishing. Just ignore the inshore part of that. We're also using a Magnum Hammer 7.3 medium heavy rod, and that was perfect for popping that swim jig through that cover. And the second approach was fishing a biffle bug, and we were flipping transition banks where it went from rock to a flat bank, maybe a little bit of grass, a little bit of wood on the bank, flipping a green pumpkin pepper neon biffle bug. Honestly, I don't think color really mattered that much. I think you just had to get it in there. But the biffle bug was the key to get the bites. Flipping a Magnum Heavy Cover 7.6 Custom Pro speed stick. And this is a meat stick, man. When you hook one of those, you're getting them right out of that cover immediately. 20-pound fluorocarbon. Well, let me tell you about this reel. This is the Team Lose Hyper Mag. This is a incredibly light reel, but it's incredibly strong at the same time. So I was able to hook those fish and get them out of that cover, and that really big one I winched out of that cover with this rod and reel. I hope you learned how to find and catch them here on Okmulgee Lake. Barry's gonna be back next week. Until next time, I'll see you on the water.